It's kind of a progressive unit. We really started off with an essential standard that focused on natural resources and teaching children about the environment and how ways the environment can change. Also how people use natural resources within their community. So I started kind of with those essential standards and then branched on from there. I focused on my main standards that I took from Common Core or from essential standards were social studies standards. But science was also tied into that. We talked about the needs of animals, animal habitats, things like that. And then we also brought language arts in there. They were writing, they were talking about problem and solution, they were recalling facts from a story that was nonfiction. They were able to identify whether the story was nonfiction or fiction and why. They were able to identify those text features. And then from a language teaching perspective, we brought in WIDA standards, the language of, like I said, language of social studies. We talked about natural resources, conservation, map skills, things like that. Language of science, we talked about habitats, living versus non-living. Language of language arts, writing in response to a text, identifying that problem and solution. And then social and instructional language, they were able to express their opinion, kind of what they think. So we were able to tie science, social studies, language arts, and then include the language standards as well.
I can discuss a problem and solution in a story.
Check your body. Now, how are we going to do that? Okay, check your bodies, make sure they're ready. We're going to say, I can discuss and write about how the rainforest is
Challenging.
Ooh, very close. Very close.
Changing.
Freeze. What does it mean if something changes?
I know.
Something, it's different. It doesn't stay the same. Every day our objectives are changing, aren't they? Okay, well guess what? The rainforest is changing, and we're going to talk about that today. Okay, we're also going to talk and write about how we can help the rainforest, okay? So Alexis, we're going to talk about how it's changing and then what we can do to help. Okay, would you guys like to do that? What will happen if too many trees are cut down so we can get the goods that we want and need? What might happen?
Maybe the animals in the rainforest will die.
Maybe they'll die. Why would they die though? If the trees are cut down, what's that connection?
Like, if they cut too many down, maybe a lot of animals will be extinct.
And what does that mean if an animal's extinct?
That doesn't exist anymore.
They die and they do not exist. You're exactly right. We're going to read about that in just a second. So what do they lose when the trees are cut down? What do the animals get from the trees, Alexis?
Bad, good air. No trees are bad air.
That's right. We get air from the trees. You're exactly right. And animals get their food from the trees. They also find their homes in the trees. So if we cut down too many trees,
They will die.
animals won't have their food, animals won't have their home. Don't you think it'll affect those insects we talked about too?
If we didn't have the trees, if the people in the rainforest didn't have the trees, then they couldn't breathe.
That's right, and they wouldn't have the things they need. We want them to know about the problem and how they can help solve that problem, right? And when you're letting people know, listen please, when you're letting people know about a problem and how they can help, you're making them aware. So we're doing this just to make people aware. When you're aware of something, you know what's going on, right? Do you feel like you're more aware of what's happening in the rainforest? Do you think we'll have some things to add to our KWL chart? Or that L shows what we learn. So next time, I want to see what you guys have learned so we can add to our, what was that big word? That shows what we know, our cycle, but schema. We can add to our schema. Yeah, that was a really big word. We'll keep talking about that.
Schema.